Hey guys, welcome back. So, just a quick recap on the first episode. So we kind of went through the machinations of setting up the account. You know, the basic sense, character creation. Um, I wanted to just really recap why I started to play World of Warcraft. So I think a little bit was kind of getting that sense of just a game that had graphics that were way beyond its time at the time, and even now, they're still incredible. I remember playing with my brother. I remember, wanting to start an account with the free trials and going through those, and I remember one of my favorite ones was definitely Hunter, especially the Night Elf. Just the look of it, everything about it was so cool. So we're gonna level this 1 through 90 eventually. We're gonna talk about some finance tips, some life tips, a little bit of philosophy, and I want to keep this channel as interactive as possible. Whether it might be talking a little bit about investing goals or some fun little things we could do along the way. I want this channel to be open, collaborative, and just a fun atmosphere and experience. Something you can have a cup of coffee to, wake up to, or what have you, whatever it might be. So with that, let's begin episode 2. We're gonna log into A&A. And here we go. We're right back. So, what I want this episode to be indicative of is that leveling isn't fast, but neither is building money. So you started in Teldrassil or a Night Elf Hunter. You set up the account. I wanted to create that just so we could see it completely from scratch. And last episode we got the Night Elf Hunter started. And this episode we're gonna get through the early quests and push deeper into this zone, and I want to talk about why consistency beats hype, in World of Warcraft and money. I just want to give a little bit more background. So, Hunter's beginner friendly. Anyone can do it. Even if you've never played Miss Pandaria Classic, you don't have the BOA that I have. I just have a little bit. The pet is the tank. It's kind of I'm the range, and we got a pet to help us kind of defeat those enemies. And I think the whole goal is keeping a distance. Training the skills when you go back to town. So professions are kind of up for grabs at this point, but and then also picking up every flight pass. So we can't get a mount. I believe until level 20. So we'll have to work that out as we go. But let's get started. So.
Go in peace.
Lightsabers. See where the pet is. Okay. So with that, the first shot begins. So we are going to do some auto looting. So I didn't bring over any gold. We're gonna focus on the gold, obviously. That's kind of the key. We're gonna eventually get those bags, and for professions we're also gonna need some bags as well. So let's kind of just go through this, grab some items. 105 all in one. Wow. It's kind of funny. So the warrior that I showed you last episode, that character is now in Mr. Pandaria, and when I was back playing World of Warcraft back in the day, I only got to a little bit of Cataclysm, but mostly Wrath of the Lich King was as far as I got.
Peace be with you.
So,
What brings you?
the numbers as far as DPS and things of that sort are insane.
I'm listening.
So, and we can get a nice little bag here. So, but it's crazy. Like on some of my spells with the warrior, I could do like 1,000,000 damage in the in dungeons and things of that sort. Not really PvP, maybe more like 80,000 PvP. It's amazing, like, to go from a million DPS or even 100,000 and then 100 being the next one, because this is my only other account that I've made. Yeah, I mean, it shouldn't be too difficult here at the start. Again, we're in Windseeker, if anyone ever wants to join, but this is kind of going to be a pretty individualistic leveling situation, because there's just not a lot going on in Windseeker, but you'll see some cool elites. Like when I was leveling the warrior, there was a lot of things that were pretty cool that you would have never really gotten exposed to, just by nature of being the only guy on the server. Really, for a long time I was. So it took me, I'd say, about a month, 2 months to get from 38. So I did WoW Classic, and then like when it came out, when the OG Classic came out, and then I got to 38, and then kind of restarted the account back at the end of 2025 and leveled through 90 in, I'd say, like 2.5 months. And then after that, got to 90, started doing PvP. You know, it's one of the reasons why I created a warrior, because they're not the best, but they're not the worst. But like, I'd be in PvP and I'd see these hunters just absolutely break. So, you know, I think it'll end up being one of those situations where I might end up PvPing with this guy, and, you know, I'm not sure it'll just quite end right at 90. So with that, we're gonna go over here. Still pretty familiar to me. Remember this? I think I've gone through these quests at least 5 or 6 times in my life. But just like, look at the graphics. It's incredible. This game is insane. But yeah, it's been pretty fun, and you know, we'll probably go through, do some queues, dungeon finders, things of that sort while we quest. And,
I am honored.
you know, just help with the
Greetings.
steady shot. Okay. Practice steady shot. Here, steady shot. Okay. So where are the dummies? Right here. Okay. Walk out here. I like how he does the flip too. That's my favorite part about Night Elves, not gonna lie. So you can move while you do this. So this is more of like a, I believe it also regains energy. Let me see what it does.
I don't have a target.
Oops. Yeah, so it generates focus. So the name in the game of focus is, that's kind of like my mana. Like with the warrior was rage, but I had to accumulate range as opposed to focus, which is something they introduced later. I think early on it was hunters had mana, and then they changed it to focus to kind of keep it more specific to the class.
Bless you. Peace be with you.
Yeah, so we got our second skill. We're well on our way.
I am honored.
I wonder.
May the
Yeah, so
stars guide you.
I haven't learned anything else, but I think we'll be able to kind of breeze through 1 through 10 here. Maybe 1 through 8. We'll see how it goes. But where's this guy? Over here. Okay. So I think you're gonna find the BOA helps, because it'll allow me to be a little bit more focused on the conversation, as opposed to just saying, hey, you know, here's the deal. You know, we're starting from scratch, which I know is probably the cooler way to do it in a way. But I've spent maybe 50,000 on Justice to get these, so I have all the BOA for everything except for the guild rep. I'm pretty sure you can join a guild that's not in the realm. But I don't know, I just kind of wanted to be in a guild in the server and kind of get a good sense of the people kind of keeping the server alive at this point. But yeah, it's pretty fun being on a quiet server. I do miss being able to go up to people and just like chat. That's kind of like my favorite thing. I do that all the time in real life. Kind of a people person. Like, I definitely like to socialize and be outgoing, and I think that that's kind of one of the first components that, that I want to bring up today is always try to be social. Always try to put yourself out there, because it'll give you a good sense of being able to read people. It'll give you a good sense of even networking. And I know that word's used a lot, but it really is very cool to be able to go out there and kind of have the social acumen to say, hey, this is kind of the crux of it is, when you're first starting out or wherever you are in your journey, being able to socialize and network is amazing. Like, I was at a 4th of July party yesterday, and it was pretty interesting because I was talking to one guy who deals with robotics, and say what you want about AI taking jobs and that sort. In my world, that's going to be a reality. It's just a matter of time. But I do think that just being able to talk to people, listen from their perspective, listen what got them where they are, and kind of go through the whole components of it, and kind of being able to test your mental acumen is definitely a huge skill. And it's funny, like, it's similar to investing to that extent too, because you can't, a lot of the times with connections, there's not really going to be that one big move, that guy that says, hey, can you join my company and I'll pay you $1 billion a year. It's similar to investing, where you really can't get rich for one big move. A lot of it is just being able to do it over time and being consistent, kind of echoing the first episode. It can happen. It definitely can. And as you get deeper into your journey, I think you'll start to see what I'm saying is more of a kind of just coverall. But it can happen that way. I'm not saying it can't. But it's good experience. And I guess similar on the investing realm, there's a lot of definitely benefits to being consistent. And for me personally, I automated my investments for the most part, whether it's a 401k or putting money into, instead of a high yield savings account, I've been putting into short-term treasury bonds, bills, but bills and bonds, same thing. But yeah, I mean, it's a good experience to be able to, this is, I guess, the boss, which is after I turn in this quest right now.
The great outdoors.
But I think a good, as we kind of reach over to, can I get a sword? I can't get a sword, okay, because I would have had the BOA for it.
What is nature's call?
But you do build wealth definitely the same way you level. It's those small consistent actions. It's getting 27 XP like we just got.
Is there trouble?
Kind of going through.
What is nature's call?
And they teleport you now. Interesting. I was kind of looking forward to that walk so I could talk to you guys, but.
Goddess bless you.
So now we're already level 5, so the BOA is helping immensely. So we're gonna try to get up to level 10 here, and then I'll start. I have a lot of time, that I want to allot to this series this week. So expect a lot of videos coming out, and definitely if you want to get access to them as soon as possible, you like what I'm saying, you just want to hang out, feel free to subscribe, like the videos. I want it to be interactive. I don't really view this as something that is going to be a huge aspect of my life, but I kind of want to take what I've learned along the way and kind of show you guys the progression, development, of my life, and what I've learned along the way. But that kind of leads to the next spot, is kind of one of the downsides of you know, that repeated automated invested, if you call it a downside, is, you know, sometimes skipping those steps can cause problems. You know, kind of going to that whole, you know, lingo. Like when I first started investing, like I had a bunch of stocks and individual stocks, and you know, it was my lottery ticket, you know, for lack of a better term. Like I really wanted to, you know, I thought I was the smartest kid in the world. Like I thought, you know, hey, if an average investor can make 7 to 10% in the market, you know, I could make 20 at least. You know, I went to good school, you know, and then proceeded to get my master's. But before I got my master's, we're at top of Alder, so okay. So, but if I could tell myself, and even if I did tell myself to go in, buy index funds, go along the way, and, you know, invest a little bit every time, I would have looked at you like, what are you talking about? Like, you have your whole life to do that. But honestly, had I done that, you know, in the market, when I first started investing in 2019, I would have had a lot more money at this point, a significant amount more. But, you know, I think that skipping those steps and just giving yourself a setting and forget it, and not have to kind of go towards all the machinations of, hey, should I, you know, research this stock and invest in this stock and, you know, whatnot. And, you know, I definitely think that, so we're going to Dalinar. Ooh, where is that? So we're done with that was a very fast, oh, and we got some deep fall here. This is sick. But keeping those steps consistent, automating helps so much, because you'll forget about it in a good way, though. And, you know, over time, even if you're, a little first achievement on the character. So as we walk, I'll talk a little bit. But yeah, a lot of it is just being able to automate it and kind of forget about it, and just even, I mean, I'll give you, for example, there's been studies where the best performing asset accounts and investment accounts are accounts that people straight up forgot about, lost the password, forgot that it even existed. And, you know, I'm sure some of you have heard this, but in the stock market, so specifically the S&P 500, which is the collection of the top 500 U.S. stocks, over a 20-year period, including the Great Depression, Great Recession, all of those, COVID, everything, it's never not returned money. And, you know, I'm just going to try to encourage you to think in those 20 years landscapes, because, you know, it kind of goes to the point where, you know, it was told to me, it was like, well, do you want to live to 65? Do you want to enjoy it, and get there? And if the answer is yes, then, you know, you kind of want to retire, and eventually you'll have to. But, you know, I think there's a certain element to, you know, just being able to be consistent, do it over a long period of time, and you can see that growth over time, and it really compounds. Like, through my, I guess, 7 years of investing at this point, I'm starting to get to the point where, you know, I'm getting sizable money proportionally to my investments that are really, really, really huge. So I definitely think that, you know, it's a worthwhile endeavor now that I see it later on. Sorry, I think it used to be like 6 cyberwood, you know, webwood, spider silk, and all that stuff, but thank goodness it's not. But yeah, I mean, so it's quite an adventure, and you don't see it right away. But it does exist. It's definitely huge. But I definitely think that that's kind of a big component of it, is being able to be understanding of, you know, that the market can go down in the short term, but understanding that at the end of the day, even if it goes down huge, the money that you have invested in there is not going to be the problem. It's going to probably be something bigger. So don't invest anything more than you're willing to lose. And even at that, once you start investing for a long period of time and you do it consistently, you do it right, and you start seeing those crazy gains, you're going to see that, like, it's going to turn into a sizable amount. And, you know, that's why I kind of started doing those short-term treasury bills. Is, for me, like, eventually I want to buy a house, and, live on my own, but I think that it's a huge undertaking to be able to have to, have money in the market, and at the end of the day, you really want to have a certain amount that you could sleep well at night and have enough emergency reserves and money for emergencies that you'll be able to just be able to be at peace. That's the whole point. Because if you don't have the money, especially being younger, like remember like wanting something and you didn't have the money, but it would be imagine needing something and not having the money. So, I definitely think that it's huge, it's critical, it's something that, everybody needs to do in this day and age. Say what you want about politics and things of that sort, but it's definitely going to favor people with assets, the future. And I definitely think it's just a good thing to have, as we level to level 6. But it's critical. It really is critical. Like, I can't stress it enough. I think it's so important to be able to have a framework and a plan in everything in life. So I just want to find this last owl, and then we'll keep on moving. Let's go back over here, I guess. Just get this some free XP. But I think another thing, a good component is that patience. It matters more than the excitement of the investing. Like, obviously, it's exciting to see your portfolio go up and make money without really having to do anything by just owning a share of companies. But just getting to a spot where, you're willing to delay that gratification. And I'm not saying you have to do it for the rest of your life. You can always take money out of the account a little bit at the time. I mean, they have 4% withdrawal rates. That would be more for if you favored a taxable brokerage account. Instead of investing. Where are these owls, man? So there's some over here. Cool. But yeah, I think it's definitely a huge component. Doing the investing aspect of it, and being patient and knowing that there's a lot of opportunity out there, and you definitely can seize it, and you can take advantage of it, and you can be the guy that has the big portfolio, in 5-10 years, and you'll see if you save over time, it becomes very easy and automated. You kind of just adjust to it. You adapt to, spending a little less money and investing every month, and that's the beauty of it being automatic. Is ultimately a lot of the times it ends up being, this is very easy, like I can do this, and as you see the numbers go up, it's pretty cool. But I think a good talking point here is most people want the max level character in the huge portfolio, but they don't want to do the boring middle part. And it's funny because the boring middle part is where everything is built: the foundations, the habits, the thought processes, the neural pathways, everything. But it's not easy to realize it in the short term because I didn't get a single feather. Are you kidding me? Oh boy. Well, it's good for you guys because the video goes a little longer. But yeah, I mean, the boring middle part, it's it can be lengthy sometimes. It's not the easiest thing in the world. It's not something that you can do and it's a breeze and everything. It's not an easy thing. A crested owl. That looks cool. I don't want to kill you unless you drop something. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of the whole point of it is being able to be a little bit boring sometimes. There we go. We got one. Is so critical. It's imperative, truthfully. And just the get rich quick schemes and things like that. It's just people trying to take money out of your pocket, like most of the time. So just be mindful of other situations. Be receptive to feedback. Understand that this is a long-term game. It's a lifelong game, and you want to be a lifelong learner. You want to be curious. It's a long life, and you'll be happier. Your brain will operate better. Everything else will be improved if you take along this journey. So we're gonna keep going here till the end of the quest. I kind of want to keep these videos relatively short. If you guys want the longer form videos, I could definitely do that. I'll be coming out with another one, I think, very soon. I know we said we were going to level to 10. We're going to do that today. I'm just going to split it up into 2 videos. But, you know, I'll talk a little bit. Maybe we'll kind of grab some more quests and whatnot.
You again?
Got a little bit more here. Another 6 slot bag. Here we go. Oh, I get both. Okay. Giving me bags. That's good. So, you know, I'm going to use WoW as a metaphor here. So, imagine I go to the next quest. I think it's where those, I don't know. I always think of the harpies when I think of Teldrassil, but I'll give you that for example. Like, imagine when you're pulling friggin' 15 harpies. They all kind of congregate. That's kind of financial risk. Like, it's risk. Like, you shouldn't be pulling 15 harpies. Like, that would be like going on margin to invest. Like, that's just not, it's not optimal. It's not the best thing. You know, not repairing your gear, another one. Ignoring maintenance, you know, being able to check your portfolio once a week, whatnot, making sure everything's allocated properly, is a huge component of it. It's a huge component of it. You know, wasting gold, you know, that's your cash flow. Money comes in, you get a paycheck.
How may I help?
You know, you get some income coming in. You know, I think that, you know, you don't want to waste that, because that's not going to be coming in forever, as far as your job or,
Goddess
you know,
bless you.
whatnot. It may for a long, long time, and it might not feel, it might feel like a long, long time at that point, but it's definitely not forever. Which is why you want those passive income methods, you know, whether it's investing in dividends. And, you know, I'll preface this, there's really no right answer. You know, everyone says, oh, the S&P 500, the S&P 500. Oh, people swear by certain things, and it's because it's probably what made them money, or they're early investors and they're saying, hey, this YouTuber or investing
My
guru or
goods
whatever
are
it might
of the
be
highest
said to
quality.
do it, and I
Farewell.
made 5% in a month because the market just had a good month. And you know, I think that that's definitely a component of it. Is,
Peace be with
you know,
you.
what works for you? I mean, you can. There's a lot of different investing methods that are very safe. Like even a high yield savings account, getting 3 to 4% right now. Those are things that, you know, are very critical and can make you a lot of money. You know, because compounding growth. Once you make it, if you say you have $100, like I know this is you know, a very easy example. Once you have $100, in the first year, if you get 10%, which is typically a little actually less than the average, after that first year, you now have $110.
I'm listening.
But what happens
Peace be
is
with you.
the stock market's based on percentages, and the portfolio is based on dollars. So if it keeps going up 10%, which I'm not saying it will, but on average it does, the next year, you're now earning 10% on $110, and then the year after $121, and et cetera, et cetera. So it starts to become a really big snowball that you're rolling down a hill. And at some point, it's going to reach that terminal velocity where it's going to keep going regardless of whether or not you push it. So, you know, I definitely want to, you know, just leave with a little personal angle. I started this channel because I really want to teach people about things. I want to give people my experience, through the highs, through the lows. I love WoW nostalgia. It's really, really a treat and a privilege to be able to play this game and not have to, you know, do anything else right now. You know, I'm interested in finance now because I'm invested in it. You know, it's something interesting. It's a related field to me. And, you know, one of the things I wish I understood earlier about money is that it's a tool. It's not meant to be something that you can ultimately kind of use, you know, you want to be able to use it obviously, and you know, people want to see the numbers go up on the screen, but it's a method to buy things, and you know, to be able to kind of, if you had a nail, you want the tool, you want the hammer, and you know, the hammer is kind of progressing through life, and you know, the nail is progressing through life, and the hammer is what gets you there. So I think we're gonna end it here. I'm gonna come out with another video shortly. I just want to keep these bite-sized for now, but if you guys have any preferences, if you want the long-form videos, let me know. They will eventually get long-form regardless, because as we level up, leveling's gonna get harder. But yeah, I think we'll end it here, and you know, I'll come up with another video probably sometime later today. But I'll have them uploaded. I'll really upload them as soon as I make them. But if you guys have any advice for me, any tips, I'm all ears. You know, I'm flexible. You know, I want this to be fun for you guys as much as it's fun for me to be able to practice. You know, discuss what I've learned, and you know, my blind spots and things I can work on as well. Because you always got to work on development and getting stronger and better, and you know, more well-rounded. So with that, we're gonna end it, and you know, next video we're gonna go back, and we're probably gonna get through probably level 8 or 9, and you know, that'll come out shortly. Might even come out the same day you see this. But yeah, you know, so long, and we'll see you in the next video.